I'm Whitney.
I'm Mindy.
And I'm Deb.
We're three best friends who love nerdy things.
Well, some people think we're nerdy, but we think we're pretty awesome.
This is our nerdiest thing.
Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to our nerdiest thing. Today is a very special episode. We are in part 3 of A Realm of Ash and Shadows, and we have author Lara Buckheit with us to talk about chapters 25 through 43. Welcome, Lara. We're really excited to have you on today.
I am so excited to be back. I've been thinking about this for a really long time.
Oh, yay.
Well, hopefully we don't inundate you too much with like, why and how? And when is this going to happen? We'll try to be nice about it. But like, we love the book, so it's going to be nice. But I got some questions.
Yeah. Well, before
because I was going to preface it like, if you hated it, just lie to me.
No, we did not hate it.
Well, you know, I loved it because F5 started. So.
If we would have been like, oh no, something's happened, we can't have you on. Before we get into it, Deb, will you please share our nerdiest cocktail?
Of course. Tonight's drink is actually called What the Fuck? Or WTF. And it's themed after Valeria's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. And Lara wrote, which one? This drink pairs well with finding out the woman who raised you was also lovers with someone you kissed. Ew. Yeah. Finding out your soulmate has the heart of your enemy. Finding out you both yield holy and dark magic. Mm-hmm. And this drink may cause restless nights watching your soulmate sleep. It's got screwball peanut butter whiskey in it, and if you've never had that, it's delicious. And if you put it with Coke, it literally tastes like a peanut butter cup. It's so good. Although Whitney's sitting here going, no, it wasn't.
I wasn't going to say anything.
So Whitney's drinking a White Girl White Claw.
Well, you know, I don't really love whiskey in general. So.
Yeah, I don't think that one tastes like whiskey, though. It tastes like peanut butter.
Yeah,
but
it's so nothing personal.
Yeah, I don't know. Isn't it? But I wanted to add something to this because we got some listener mail that I wanted to share real quick, and it actually has nothing to do with this book. But if you listen to our Soul of Ash and Blood episodes, episode 3, we talk about Madonna and her book called Sex from the early 90s. So the podcast Rock and Roll Bedtime Stories actually asked if they could run our segment on that because they were going to do an episode on it, and they said ours was so good that they didn't want to have to replicate it. So they didn't.
Thank you.
So having said that, we've gotten some hate mail. So I wanted to read that out loud. And
we made it, guys. We got some hate mail.
We're going to just call this douchebag from Canada. That's who it's from. Here's how it goes. I'm a longtime fan and not usually one to complain. I disagree. This morning I clicked over on your short crossover episode. There are these gals talking about Madonna's quote-unquote sex book. That's okay, I guess. Sex sells. We all know that. Then suddenly these three are talking about the R-word Kardashians. I'm not going to say that out loud. Smelling each other's twats. Not good. Not what I turn into to your usually great, which is GR8, your usually great podcast to learn about, especially first thing in the morning. Gross and unnecessary. Please stick to what you do best, not stinky pussy. Thanks in advance. Blank, blank, blank in Toronto. Also, from us to you, fuck off. I think the only problem that this person has with that episode is that girls were talking about vaginas. Yeah, right. For the record. So
well, and it's fitting too because we've got in this, A Realm of Ash and Shadow, we've got Valeria who's being treated kind of like that.
Yeah.
by
a lot of people.
Yeah, but specifically her dad.
Yeah.
Right?
So we've made it. We got hate mail.
Yeah, we did it.
We've arrived.
We talk about twats a lot. So if you're not comfortable with that, bye.
Oh, Mindy, will you please? Oh, no, wait. I was about to skip over the recap and go straight to vocab.
Yeah,
but
we gotta do the recap.
Have we spun the wheel o' names?
Yes, we have, and it's me.
It's Mindy. All right, so Mindy has 60 seconds.
Don't mess it up.
Mindy has
no pressure.
The author's on here. Don't ruin it.
60 seconds to give us 10 things that happened. I was going to say 10 quotes, but God knows we can't do.
I have 10 quotes in my. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. I have probably like 4 in my actual. Talking about it.
Ready, set, Go.
1. Vemdor helps Valeria rip out Elodie's heart and offers to help unlock her powers. 2. Vemdor and Valeria go for a swim and Vemdor tells Val that they are betrothed by Bastille. 3. Tam stabs Valeria and Vemdor says, "Who did this to you?" and heals her. 4. Valeria starts to feel attracted to Vemdor and gives in to his promise of power, love, and revenge, even agreeing to sever the dyad with Gideon, which he tells her later supposedly killed Gideon. Boo! Caden shows Val that their father actually was the one who killed their mother and that he actually aligned with Vemdor to keep her safe. 6. Oh, and by the way, time works differently in the realm of the Forsaken, and also Val is Bastille's daughter. 7. Val challenges Pietra to a fight, which she wins by busting out her power and escaping with Caden, Red, and surprise, Gideon, because it turns out he's not dead.
Yay.
8. Gideon takes Val to the rebellion's camp in the Grey, where she's reunited with the other rebels, makes amends with Mason, has some sexy time with Gideon, and affirms that she's a demigoddess. Mistress Marjorie tells Val that she was once Vemdor's lover, gross, and that Gideon was made by Bastille and his heart. And I missed my last one.
What was the last one, Mindy? I'm going to give it to you.
In Empyrean, Ward tries to burn Val on a pyre. Marjorie shows everyone Ward's memory about Val's mother's death. I couldn't have said this anyways. Val is saved by Vemdor, but Vemdor shows up and makes Caden kill Mason, which unlocks all of Val's power. And then Caden sends her instructions on how to bring Mason back, but he's not going to be himself. The end.
Yay! You did it.
A lot happens in the
I
last
was
third
going to
of
say,
this book.
I actually cut out a lot.
Yeah, it was an action-packed last several chapters.
Lara, was there anything where you were like, well, you didn't mention this? Because there's a lot that happens.
I mean, hearing it like listed out like that, I'm like, oh my God, what did I do to her?
You did a lot to her.
Yeah, Valeria's not having a good...
She's going through it, man.
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed everything, I think.
Nice.
I mean, she was poisoned, but I don't know if that was important.
Well, I had that in there, but I had to cut it out because I didn't think I was going to make it, and clearly I didn't.
So, Mindy, will you please do our nerdiest vocabulary?
I would love to. So last week, of course, we talked about the two main characters. And this week, I wanted to talk about some of the side characters. So I did a few. I did Caden, Malachi, and Sable. So Caden comes from the Gallic language and means war or fighter. And that kind of totally goes along with the notion of him being the Deathbringer and allegedly starting the whole discord between the realms. So I feel like that tracks.
Yeah.
I don't know if you did that on purpose, but let's just say you did, Lara.
I did.
Yay! And then Malachi is from the Hebrew, which means messenger of God or my messenger, which to me is intriguing because the Celestians are messengers of sorts, especially when like they turn into the ravens. And Valeria wonders a few times if Malachi was the raven that delivered all the correspondence she got in the mortal realm. So I thought that tracks also. You probably did that on purpose. Yeah, Malachi's one of our favorites, Lara.
Oh my gosh, I'm glad because he's one of my favorites.
I know, we love him. And then Sable comes from the name Isabel, which means pledge to God, God is perfection, or God is my oath. So this is the connection I found with that. And I mean, I may be wrong, but I like thinking of it this way. So pledge to God. She's also pledged to Gideon, right? And Gideon has the heart of a god.
Oh,
smart,
go there,
Wendy.
Yeah,
I have some suspicions about Sable. We can talk about that.
I can't wait to hear about that.
She just kept piecing out towards the end of the book for random reasons. Yeah.
So also with her though, with it meaning God is my oath. I feel like she's pretty loyal.
Is she?
I don't know. Now that you've got me thinking now.
You're always suspicious of characters, though.
And I'm always right. No, I'm not.
If only listeners could have seen my face when you
In my defense, I'm suspicious of people in real life, too.
Well, that's true.
So I'm not a very trusting person.
So I did go to the Urban Dictionary. So I just picked my favorite for each one. So I don't have a whole lot of different ones. But so for Caden, my favorite one was fake ass motherfucker who lies about death.
Well,
that works, right?
Yeah.
Lara, did you write that on Urban Dictionary?
Wait, that's actually so funny. I need to write this down. It should be a social media post.
We'll send it to you.
Yes. Okay. So Malachi, my favorite one, was coolest kid on the block that can bang anyone's mom and sister and can steal anyone's girlfriend.
That's probably
that
accurate.
tracks, right?
Yeah.
And then
tracks.
And then Sable is, and I have to, this is how it's written. So a girl with a big bosoms. So I don't know know if that's what you were picturing, Lara, when you wrote Sable, but somebody thinks she does.
I mean, sure.
Well, let's go ahead and get into it. And let's start by sharing our favorite moment from this last section of the book. Who wants to go first?
Whitney, you look excited. You go.
I was excited. Okay, so we established this in part 1 of discussing this book. I'm very hardcore Team Gideon, like all the way. So I was very, very upset through most of this section.
Yeah, I've got some stuff in my least favorite moment about that.
I was really upset about the whole, like, yes, break the bond. And then he's like, haha, Gideon's dead. And I was like, no. I was really upset about that. So the moment when she hears Gideon in her head and he's like, I'm coming for you, I was like, yay! Like, I was so excited. I celebrated.
Did you get so excited you also were coming? You were like,
no, I really, really loved that because I really had a hard time with the
Vemdor.
I really had a hard time with that. And we'll get into that with my least favorite moments too. But yes, that moment where it was confirmed, like, no, Gideon is still around and he's still, going to be awesome Gideon.
Well, go ahead and tell us, since that goes into your least favorite, do you want to go ahead and tell us that?
Well, sure. My least favorite moment was I disliked a lot of the Realm of the Forsaken stuff just because I don't trust and didn't trust Vemdor. I really disliked a lot of that because I did not trust him, and I just felt like she waffled too quickly, or I guess folded a little too quickly. And so when she gave in to his offer basically of like, I can help you learn how to use this power and I can help you, all you have to do is get rid of your your bond. And I'm like, clearly that's a bad move, don't do that. Right. And she's like, yeah, okay, that sounds great. And she's all like, want to make out with him and stuff. I wanted
to make out with him. So what you don't know is that so something that we're doing new on the podcast is our Nerdiest sketchbook, and I sent Lara a sketch of Vemdor because I'm like, God, he sounds so hot. He sounds so hot because, I mean, he is. And, I will say, because I do want to talk about my most favorite part, but I also struggled with Valeria and her actions in this part of the book. And, this goes into a theory of mine. Sometimes she feels more like the villain than Vemdor does. And so I'm kind of hoping she goes pure dark side. Yeah. So, for example, I was shocked when Valeria ripped out Elodie's heart with very little hesitation, and then she refused to acknowledge what she did later, even subconsciously. She's like, I'm not even going to think about it. It'll be fine. No big deal. I just ripped out this person's heart, right? And then I also struggled with Valeria.
That was my favorite moment.
Well, hold on. We can talk about that. But I struggled with Valeria's character when she tries to sever the dyad in order to gain more power. And that's kind of where this villain theory of mine comes from. She doesn't take Gideon's feelings into account at all when she does that. And she doesn't ask what will happen to him if the connection's broken.
Her.
Right. Which she quickly figures out. She's like, oh, shit. What did I just do? But I think, honestly, she's so drunk on power that she just can't think straight.
Well, and she also hasn't heard from him, and in her mind she doesn't know yet about the time thing.
So since that's your favorite part, tell us about it.
I don't know, I guess I'm not sure what it says about me and how twisted I am. But I loved that moment that she exacted that revenge, and maybe it's because I was bullied when I was in middle school. And
but you wouldn't rip someone's heart out.
No, but it kind of felt like justification. I don't know, justice, bitch. I don't know. I kind of liked it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just dark.
So my favorite moment and twist goes with vengeance too, though. So there's a quote at the end of this book, and it says, it took 3 blows to behead him completely. So this is when Valeria chops off King Ward's head. And I love a good vengeance story. And King Ward really had it coming since the beginning of this book.
For sure.
The fact that he sent demons to kill everyone who thought was his daughter, right? Well, everyone thought that this was his daughter, right? And he sent demons to kill her. Then he greets her after 18 years by slapping her across the face. Yeah. And he leaves her in the realm of the Forsaken. So, fuck that guy. Yeah. He's awful. One thing I find super fascinating is that beheadings are actually considered an honorable death and is equivalent to being killed in battle. back
Ooh.
in like, Egyptian, Greek times, all those olden days. It was actually considered an honorable death. And I'm fairly certain that was not Valeria's intent, was to give him an honorable death.
Sure.
But there is a level of brutality that's shown in this scene because Valeria doesn't cut Ward's head off in one swoop, which actually takes a very sharp blade and tons of upper body strength, but instead has to chop at him 3 times before
like
his head
hack
falls
him.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and happily hacking. I'm like picturing her just being like, wee! So, according to Salon.com, there's a lot of debate about whether or not one remains conscious once they're beheaded. And it would really be so awesome if King Ward had actually been conscious enough to watch Valeria take over the kingdom. I think that would, I mean, it's a little bit more of that just desserts.
Yeah.
So some experts think that consciousness is lost within 2 seconds after decapitation due to the rapid loss of blood pressure in the brain, where others suggest that consciousness evaporates as the brain uses up all of the available oxygen in the blood. That only takes 7 seconds. So 7 seconds is 7 seconds too long if you have a recently severed head, I would say.
Right.
Decapitation may be one of the least torturous ways to die because it happens so quickly and your brain stops functioning, but it is thought to still be painful, and many scientists believe that. However swiftly it's performed, decapitation can cause really intense pain for at least a second or two, which made me really happy because this guy deserves to fucking die.
So,
Lara, what was your favorite part?
My favorite, I think my favorite reveal, are we doing spoilers?
Yes,
Yes,
of course.
we're always
Okay,
spoiler
okay.
friendly.
Just checking. My favorite reveal was probably the heart twist.
For
where Vemdor's heart is actually inside Gideon. He's made of clay and like brought to life. And I think I just had so much like enjoyment writing that and then leaving little teasers throughout the book. So if people went back and reread it, they would see that it was actually like foreshadowed.
And that's a question I had at the end of the book, Lara, was how is Valeria going to reconcile feelings that she obviously has for Vemdor, knowing that his heart is in this person that's supposed to have been made for her? And then what is Vemdor going to do when he finds out someone has his heart? When he finds out who it is.
True.
So I'm excited to see that come to fruition.
That was my biggest revelation, by the way.
Oh, it was?
Mindy, did you say what your least favorite moment was?
No, my least favorite moment was finding out that Marjorie was once Vemdor's lover. It was kind of ick for me.
Yeah, it's like a
But a
mother
good
figure.
twist.
Yeah, it was a great twist.
Yeah.
But just, and it's not even like that. Like I didn't like it. Like I think it's definitely adds a layer. But it kind of made me go, ooh.
Yeah. Lara, did you
actually? Oh, sorry. I was going to say it's actually so funny because when my editor read that scene, she left a comment on it, and she was like, "Maury, the fantasy edition."
That's hilarious. And that's our episode title.
I was just about to say, please let's make that the title of this episode. That's hilarious. Did you have any moments that, as you were writing, Lara, that felt like, not like, ugh, I don't like this, but just kind of like, oh, I really
This is
feel bad for
hard
this
to-
character, or any kind of least favorite moment in that sense?
Least favorite moment in that sense, I felt really bad for Mason. Pretty much the entire book.
Yeah.
But in this section specifically, I felt bad that the moment he was reunited with Val at the camp, he saw that she was with someone else. She didn't really have any time for him.
Yeah.
She was very short with him. He was jealous of Gideon. He didn't really know, he didn't understand, I guess, that the dynamic had changed between them. And I spent so much time in the realm of the Forsaken, and he's so pure.
And God love him. He has a demon arm now.
I know.
Yeah, and Lara, I was trying to figure out how many years-ish was Mason there in his own head, because that was the thing, Val was like, oh yeah, he's still in the realm of the Forsaken, so he was there for weeks in her time, right?
Yeah, so the entire timeline from when Val finds out about Mason being there to when she goes is probably about 2 weeks in her time. So it was about 2 years for him.
Oh, wow. That's a long time. Poor guy.
Yeah. Just to be chilling, like.
Right. And I felt for him, too, whenever she wanted to make him kneel to her when he was like kind of smarting off to her. And that's where I was like, damn, girl, you kind of evil.
Yeah, he's
He's supposed to be your best friend.
Some dark and twisty in her for sure.
I like it.
Yeah. What about everybody's biggest revelation?
You said yours was the heart, right?
Yeah,
Mindy?
mine was that Gideon was made from clay and that he had Vemdor's heart. That just made me like, that sounded
What was it
really.
like?
It sounded like some Golden Girl shit, is what it sounded like. But yeah, it just really made me. That was one of those like eyebrow raise moments. Like, did not see that coming.
So for me, and this might actually be my nerdiest thing of the week as well, but I always read the acknowledgments at the end of the book. I love to see who supported the author on their writing journey, who their hype people are, etc. And while I was reading through Lara's, I noticed that there were random capitalized letters dispersed throughout the message. So naturally, I grabbed a piece of paper. And when I say piece of paper, I mean I was writing on my hand because I didn't want to stand up and get a piece of paper. And I was trying to figure out if there was a message amongst the capital letters, and there is. So
How did I miss
Lara.
that?
So if you put all of the capital letters in order, it reads "The gods are coming."
Ooh,
Lara, you
look at
sneaky.
you. Golf claps for Deb figuring that out, first of all.
Again, super nerd, but I was like, why is random stuff capitalized in here?
Have you gotten a lot of feedback of people figuring that out, Lara? Or is Deb the chosen one?
The sleuth.
I have had a lot of people DM me asking if it's a typo, and I'm like, no, man, like spell it out. Like,
Keep
and then
reading.
they do, and they're like, what does this mean? And then I tell them if they go to my website, there's actually like a button where you can enter that as a password.
What?
And it tells you the title for book 2.
Oh, cool.
Okay, I'm so excited. I can't wait. I'm going to do that as soon as we're done talking.
That is such a great idea, Lara. That's really, really smart. I love
That's
that.
super
So
fun.
see, read author acknowledgments.
Yeah, I love that. Well, my biggest revelation is about the time difference. When it is revealed that it's been 7 months for Valeria, but it hasn't even been a week.
Is that where you were like, woohoo, Gideon might not be dead? Because I thought, oh, he can still be coming back for her.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was that blew me away like so hardcore. I could not get over that. I thought about it for like days afterwards, and that actually led me into my deep dive because I know that I've seen other stories and movies and stuff use that kind of idea that like time moves differently in different like dimensions or different planes of existence or whatever. So I intended to have my deep dive be examples of that idea, right? Like pop culture, literature, science fiction, whatever.
I can only think of one, and it's Percy Jackson.
See, I don't know Percy Jackson, so that was not.
Yeah,
on
there's
mine.
a cool thing in their book that does that too.
So I was trying to just look up pop culture, but what popped up from Google made me feel like, what? So I'm really excited to talk about it. So I'm going to start off. First of all, this is a very complicated concept. So I may not be 100% correct, and I may not be articulating or understanding it correctly. Please do not ask me any questions.
I cannot promise that. I'm sorry.
I'm probably going to say, I don't know.
Lara might be able to interject a little bit, though.
Maybe. So the first thing that popped up on my Google search was Einstein and his special theory of relativity, which, side note, it actually made me laugh a lot that it's his special theory.
I was going to say, what? Where's
Is that what
come
it's actually
from?
called?
Yeah, his special theory of relativity.
So it's not just the theory of relativity?
In this article, it was special, and it made me feel bad for the other theories.
I already asked you questions in your 3 sentences.
I know,
in.
right? I was like, what about all the other theories? Are they just regular theories? Like every theory is special in their own way. This theory says that the rate at which time passes depends depends on your frame of reference. So when I read that, I thought, okay, frame of reference in terms of a mental reference, like when you're really excited for something to happen, it feels like time is moving very slowly. Or when you get really in the zone or very focused on a task or a project or something and time seems to fly by. That's what I have experienced, right? Sure. That's what I assumed.
Well, that
frame
could be
of
the
reference
case
meant.
for Valeria, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
Time flies when you're being evil and having fun.
So when I kept reading, I felt really dumb because that is not what it means. So frame of reference in this special theory seems to be talking about speed and space. So speed and space are the frames of reference. And this is where it gets to the, like, please don't ask me questions
My eyes
part.
are crossing.
I know, I was going to say, this seems like too scientific for me.
It seems wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey, Doctor Who to me.
It kind of is, honestly. It kind of is. So we've got speed and we've got space. So basically what this theory says is that a second is not always a second, based on where you are in the universe and based on how fast you are moving within that space. So, for example, there was an experiment with 2 atomic clocks, which I had not heard of, but atomic clocks are apparently super special to go with the special
like
theory.
all of his theories.
Yeah, exactly. Atomic clocks are supposed to be highly accurate and way better than our regular clocks that are out here being wrong, I guess. So they put each atomic clock, I guess, in 2 different airplanes. And the airplanes flew around the world in opposite directions. So the planes did not move at the exact same speed because of jet stream and all that, whatever. So the planes moved at different speeds. And when they landed back at the starting point, one of the atomic clocks was a fraction of a second behind the other. So if time moved at a constant rate and was not affected by space or speed, those clocks should have stayed in sync. But because the planes moved at different speeds, one of the clocks slowed down just a little bit.
This is blowing my mind.
Right? This is what made me feel really stupid because I was like, I thought it was just like the J-Lo, like waiting for tonight. That's what I was thinking, right? And then I was like, oh, this is like real science. So that's what made me feel stupid. But so if time were completely stable and worked the same all the time, everywhere, in every situation, those 2 atomic clocks should have stayed completely in sync. There should not be any difference at all. Even though it's a very minuscule difference, it still happened, right?
Right.
So,
well, and the longer they're traveling at different speeds, the bigger the time jump would be, right? In theory.
In the special theory.
Super special theory.
In special theory, yes. So basically, this whole idea is that time, the way that we think of it, like it moves forward, it's stable, it just is a constant thing. That whole idea does not actually exist. A minute is not always a minute is not always a minute. It can change based on space, where you are in the universe, and based on speed. So that idea of time that we think of it, just moving forward, constant, whatever, that is a social construct that we humans have created to make sense of our days and to make sense of our schedules.
Well, I get that, yeah.
Time, in reality, time can bend and curve, which is where you're talking about the Doctor Who stuff, right? Wibbly wobbly. It can work differently. Bending and curving just means it works differently based on space and speed. It happens in very, very tiny, basically insignificant amounts in terms of like a human lifespan. It's not going to really make a difference. It's not like you're going to be able to time travel or whatever.
But if you're a god and you live forever,
right,
those could be some pretty significant time changes, right?
Right. So a real life example of this is astronauts. They have a whole thing called a twin paradox, where they've had one identical twin who is an astronaut and the other identical twin is not. The astronaut twin goes up into space, into the space station or whatever, for weeks or months or however long their stay is. So when the astronaut twin comes back, they analyze both twins, blood work, pictures, before and after photos and stuff like that. So the astronaut twin ages at a slower rate than the twin who did not go to space. So like their blood work is different. The way that they look, the way that they have aged over that time period is different. Wow. Even though the same amount of, quote, time has passed.
Right.
So they're in 2 completely different areas of the universe, gravitational pull, and all of that stuff.
And speed, obviously.
And speed
right.
on the Earth spinning and moving around the sun versus the space station or wherever they were, right? So the space and the speed affects the astronaut twins differently. And you can look this up. Like, you can see the before and after pictures, and it's not huge differences all the time, but they're identical, right?
Yeah.
Their DNA is the same. So they should be aging at the same rate, but they don't. So that kind of freaks me out a little bit. So, that same, let's say 6-month time period or however long it is, it does not affect them the same because of space and speed. So that is like real life science, not science fiction. That is a real scientifically proven phenomenon, I guess is the way to say it. So this whole idea of time moving differently in different planes of existence has worked its way into other aspects of our life, not just science and, real life. But I know at least one religion has this idea of time moving differently in heaven versus on earth. In the Christian religion, in the New Testament, in Peter chapter 3, it talks about how a day in heaven is like 1,000 years and 1,000 years is like a day. That idea of time works differently in this different, dimension or plane of existence, or however you want to describe that. So we see this all over pop culture. These are just 2 examples that I just knew in my head, but there are a lot more. You can look it up yourself. And you already gave me another one, Deb, that I hadn't thought of. And what did you say?
Percy Jackson?
Yeah, Percy Jackson. So Orson Wells has a book called Ender's Game. There's a character who ages 8 years in space, but back on Earth, 50 years has actually passed by. Ooh. So time is moving differently, for different people based on where they are in space and the speed at which they are moving. Obviously, we see this example here in Lara's book. Shout out to Lara. And then the first thing that I thought of is with the Marvel movies, because I'm a huge Marvel nerd.
Oh, right.
It's in Ant-Man's storyline. So we see it in Avengers Endgame. And then it's
about the quantum world?
It's a huge plot point in the Ant-Man Quantumania movie. Right? Yeah. So in Endgame, Ant-Man, Scott, is in the quantum realm, and for him it's like 5 hours, but really on Earth it's 5 years. And he comes back after the quote blip, when people have been turned into ash or whatever. Spoiler alert, by the way. Spoiler alert for the Avengers movies. And he doesn't realize that 5 years have passed, right? And in Quantumania, they're in the quantum realm for there's characters who are in the quantum realm for like decades and decades and decades, but that time has moved differently on Earth. It hasn't been quite as long, or it feels very short to them in the quantum realm, and it's actually been 30 years on Earth. This idea is kind of everywhere, and it really blew my mind when Google was like, "Oh, you want fictional examples? Just kidding. This is a real thing." Like, this is a real life thing. That is a theory that actually exists in your actual world.
I want to do so much internet research.
I know, right?
I know.
This, Einstein's special theory.
Well, I'm really wondering, Lara, like, where did you do any research when you came up with this concept, or is it just something that you found interesting?
I didn't do any research on it beyond I played this game called God of War with my husband.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a part in there where time moved differently when one of the main characters was actually in like a version of hell. And I was like, wait, that's actually pretty dope. And I think it was that time moved like regular for them, or regular for like the real world, and then it's slower for them. But I was like, it'd be wild if it moved faster for the realm of the Forsaken. So like a lot of time is passing when it's like not really passing. It's just passing normally in, the mortal realm and Empyrean. And so that's pretty much where I got it. I was like, wait, that would actually be cool, but let's change it up a little bit.
That actually reminds me of Supernatural. I just now thought about this. When Dean is in hell.
Oh, yeah.
And for him, it was
it's
like
hundreds of years.
Yeah, it was like decades and decades, but it was like a year or less than a year when he was in
it was like
3
months.
Yeah, it was not that long at all. I can't believe that I didn't think of that when I was doing
think
my
a day
research.
is a year in
maybe
that.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but yeah, that same kind of idea. So.
Lara, how does time move in the realm of the divine?
You'll find out in book 2.
Okay, thank you.
Just keep reading.
Just keep reading.
Spoiler. Well, we can't yet.
And don't worry, Val actually asks before she goes. She's learned.
She's learned, yeah.
She asks something first?
She
she's grown
learned
as a
from her
person.
errors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just...
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine. I just really loved that revelation, that reveal. And then I loved how Google was like, time isn't real. Bye.
And I did the same thing because Caden's like for hundreds of years. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
And then I was like, oh, wait, this is a big part of the book. I should slow down reading and like actually listen to what he's saying here.
Let me reread a few paragraphs to make sure I understand it. Yeah.
Now, before we go into our favorite spicy scene, Lara, during our last interview with her, actually termed the phrase plut, which, because we asked her smut or plot, and you said plut. So, I'm dying to know, Lara, if the next books are going to have some open door smut.
Yeah, like explicitly. I'm pretty sure in the draft that I wrote, there's the 4-letter C word, cock.
Oh,
I was like, which one?
I'm glad it's that C word, not the other one.
Let me specify.
Yeah. No, I can't
You
wait.
can say cock on here.
Okay,
We're
cock.
definitely
Cock.
a sex positive podcast.
Cock. Lara, did you have a scene in this book that you would have loved to have written more detail about, or a scene like that kind of lives rent free in your head where you're like, I know what happened behind that door?
I really wanted to do more content in the realm of the Forsaken because so much time passed and I feel like it felt like a huge time jump. So if I ever got the chance, I might do like a novella just showing the relationship growth between Val and Vemdor and like his manipulation and stuff, because I kind of love, more than like the open door scenes, I love the like the hidden touches, the like sneaky touches, like the hand on a thigh, the like brushing of skin. I don't know. There's just something about that where it's like so hot, but nothing's happening that you're just like,
Totally.
damn it.
Okay, that's so funny because that was what I would coin as one of my spicy scenes. And it's not even a spicy scene. But whenever Vemdor is supposed to go meet Valerina in the baths after Soren and Red return to the realm, I laughed out loud when she said Vemdor wasn't coming, and it seemed neither was I.
I love that too.
Yeah, I thought.
And I thought, well, Val could have just taken things into her own hands. It would have been fine.
Maybe she did.
But
Lara, did she?
I was highly anticipating him coming to the bath. I was very excited about that. But and I have wondered several times throughout reading this, like who he was fucking. Because when she gets stabbed, his bed, like she talks about how his bed is unmade and sloppy. So am I allowed to ask that, Lara?
So previously he was fucking Pietra, but not at that moment when she came up there. I just wanted to see
Whitney's face when you said Pietra, she's like, fuck that bitch.
I know, right? But I just wanted to show that because he always comes off so clean. Like he has his little button ups when the glamour isn't like happening. So you see his like little button ups and he's like flicking dust off his shoulders and he's wearing like these pressed slacks. So I really wanted Val to come up into his room and see that he like doesn't make his bed. Like he's a mess.
I haven't made my bed in like 30 years.
I know me either.
That's like
right?
one thing where I'm like, I'm not making this to get back into it because I like nap every day and I'm like, that seems like a big waste of my time. Did you have a favorite spicy scene, Whit?
I liked the reunion sex with Gideon.
Yeah.
I just like Gideon.
I do too.
I really just was upset with all the tension between her and Vemdor.
I was not. I thoroughly liked it.
I don't like him, and I don't try.
Don't you like him more knowing, though, that Gideon has his heart? Like, she liked him for a reason.
Well, I mean, I guess, but this is what I wrote down, okay? I wrote down, so Bastille betrothed her to Vemdor and bonded her to Gideon. Why? Why choose?
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I also wrote down, and I'm going to preface this by saying this is a quote from an old SNL skit, so like, I'm not being mean to Valeria, but I wrote, Valeria, you ignorant slut. Just like that was when she was like, sure, break the bond and, teach me the power. I was just like, don't do it. Stop it.
Yeah, I was so shocked by that, but it really does show how off kilter she has become.
Yeah. Oh,
in the realm, and how far Vemdor's manipulation has reached her.
Well, and how rocked her world is.
Well, and the time difference, right? Like she thinks that she's been there for months and months without hearing from.
Well,
Gideon.
according to your theory, she has been. Technically.
No, that's what I mean, though. Like, from her perspective, it's been months that she hasn't heard anything. But from poor Gideon, it's only been like 5 days, right? Or 6 days or whatever it's been. So,
what about your favorite spicy scene, Min?
So, it's so funny.
As if Vemdor.
I typically feel like I'm always in between you two guys, right? So I am 100% Team Gideon, okay? Like, I love Gideon. But my favorite spicy scene is when Vemdor kisses Val, because there's something about that tension that's just so sexy. And then when he says, I've waited a very long time for you, and now that I've tasted you, not a single soul will ever satiate me again. Holy shit. Like, I wish somebody would say that to me.
So, technically, though, he's her soulmate, too.
I know.
Right?
See, I think that's why I'm so... Because you guys know I love a fated mate, right? And I really don't like it when somebody, rejects their fated mate.
You mean she did?
Right.
Yeah.
For seemingly, not a reason, or not a good reason. It's not like they're a horrible person or something, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so if it were to come out, Lara, that she has two mates or something, I would be totally fine with that.
Lara, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the same person technically, isn't it? So no, did you say no, Lara?
Just keep reading, Deb.
Yes, technically. It's just a very tricky situation without getting into mechanics or spoilers.
Well, but it's also obviously two different people, right? Because it's two different...
It is a messy situation.
It's two different physical bodies. It's two different brains. It's two completely different personalities.
Why choose?
That's what I'm saying. If it were two... If it's I have more than one mate, then I'm down for that. But I don't like when somebody rejects a mate in favor of somebody. I just don't like that.
I feel like she's, and again, Lara, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like she's drawn to both of them because she's got both of those parts of her.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, this also gets into all the daddy issues of it all, right?
True.
Because her actual father, Bastille, has betrothed her to the one and bonded her to the other.
Yeah.
So we've got these major daddy control issues that he has created, and we've got the prophecy of it all, and there's a lot of unanswered questions because it's just the first book. Lara, do you know how many books you're going to have in the series?
As of 2 days ago, I decided 4.
Yeah, I was going to say, I saw that.
Nice.
I saw that reveal.
Oh, awesome.
So obviously there's 3 more books is a lot of information to kind of unravel these threads and answer these questions, right? But
I did just want to jump in and say
Please
that with them being the same person or being two different people concept, I really wanted it to show that all of the bad of Kieran or Vemdor is in Vemdor, whereas all of what was good of Kieran is in Gideon. And
I like that.
I do like that.
So that's why. And Val is she is kind of really messy and morally gray, and because of the bond and all of that, that is why she kind of toes the line where she could be a really good friend, a really good queen, a really good person, or she could be power hungry, vengeful, and just fuck your feelings. I'm gonna do me.
Yeah, I feel as queen, she's gonna have to have an advisor that's okay, you need to calm the fuck down.
I think that's gonna be Malachi.
Yeah, maybe. I kind of wish she'd fuck Malachi too, though, to be honest.
I did write down in my notes, if Gideon and Vemdor, combine into one being, I'm totally down for that.
With these 5 rings combined.
I'm totally down for that.
Vemdor Gideon.
The first person to say that.
So that was everybody's favorite spicy scene, right?
Yep.
Okay. Let's talk about our chapter MVP.
I wonder if we all have the same one. Mine's Mistress Marjorie.
So is mine.
Is yours?
Mine's not.
Okay. Well, I'll say that I think she's such a badass. Not only did she curse Vemdor and literally takes his heart to give it to someone else, she also gives Val that kick-ass bracelet that transforms into a dagger.
Yeah.
She helps Bastille create the perfect mate for Val. She ensures that Val is safe for 18 years in the mortal realm, but also wards the rebel camp from the king.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what can she not do? She's awesome.
Well, and she basically saves the day at the end too, right?
She does,
By
yeah.
showing
Yeah,
the
that's
memory.
true.
That was my big thing of her being the MVP is she is able to use her power to expose, Ward for who he actually is.
I got so into the beheading, I kind of forgot that happened. Thank you for saying that. I was so excited about that son of a bitch dying that I kind of glossed over that. What's yours,
Who
Min?
is-
So
Yours.
I definitely agree with you all, but for some reason I just couldn't pinpoint in my mind. I feel like it should be Valeria because she figures out her feelings for Gideon and she tries to plot against Vemdor, even though it doesn't really work. And she unlocks her power. I mean, Vemdor has to piss her off to do it, so there's that. But she's generally a badass. Like, she really does tap into both sides of herself, but then she also keeps making these terrible decisions, so it kind of negates some of that. So I was torn. I feel like it should be Valeria to be the chapter MVP, but maybe it's not.
I kind of like I was frustrated with a lot of her choices, but I like that she made bad decisions.
Oh, I do too.
Because
Made her real.
It makes her real. And she has a lot of kind of Aelin vibes for me from
Ooh,
Throne
yeah.
of Glass of that. Like, I'm a very strong, capable, ruler and friend and partner, whatever, but I'm also still pretty young.
And also I came from terrible
What
circumstances.
Valeria doesn't have yet, though, that Aelin has is the whole cadre.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
okay, you fucked up. We're going to help you fix it.
The
And
support
Valeria
system
doesn't
of it.
I think
have
it's
that
coming,
yet.
though.
It's coming.
Yeah, they're
And
working
that will
on
help
it.
her,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah, for sure.
Lara, do you have an MVP from the book? Who's your person?
Oh man.
It's like picking your
a
favorite child.
kid. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it is hard. Obviously, I really love Margie and I love Val for who she is. But I really, I feel like it might be Caden because, you're set up to hate him from the get-go. And then he's just been, spending this whole time just trying to protect her. And I think I just love that for him.
He's my favorite secondary
Mine
character.
too. That's so funny. Whitney
We're
and
the
I
same
never
person.
agree on
I
this.
know, this is weird.
And I put that in there. So I put the entire kingdom of Empyrean is told that Caden slaughtered his mother and tried to kill his sister when actually Ward killed his wife and tries to kill Valeria since she isn't truly his daughter, right? So Caden agrees to be a puppet for Vemdor if he promises to never hurt Val. And he suffers for hundreds of years in the realm of the Forsaken, doing really anything that Vemdor compels him to. I mean, I feel like it's a compulsion thing too.
Oh, for
He
sure,
has
sure,
to.
yeah.
And our poor, morally gray, misunderstood Caden. I really hope he
Yeah.
gets a redemption arc.
Every opportunity that he had to help, he did. He only didn't help when he absolutely couldn't because of the bond or whatever.
Right.
I appreciated him a lot. Can I ask a clarifying question, Lara, with the
Yeah.
Ward? Does he know for absolutely certain that Valeria is not his daughter, or is he just pretty sure that she's not?
No, he knows for certain.
Okay. That was one thing I wasn't sure, if he thought there was a possibility, but probably not, or if
It
he
explains
knew.
so much about how he
Right,
treats her.
right.
Yeah. What was yours, Mindy?
I agree with everything you all said about Caden, but I actually kind of loved Sable in this section, and I know that Deb has some
That
ideas.
chick's suspicious AF.
But I don't know. There's something about her. I kind of love her tryst with Mason. I think it's hilarious. And then her bravery, when she brings Val to Empyrean, she really, I know she had to, act, so to speak, but I don't know. I just feel like she was really brave to do that, to sort of, insert herself back into that when she'd already like left because she was a rebel essentially. So she'd already kind of almost established herself as a rebel, but then she goes back. And then her heartbreak when Mason is killed, it made me sad. I don't know. She just has so many layers and became more relatable to me in these chapters.
But
even
where
though
did she keep going?
I mean,
That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
She was having sex with Mason.
I mean, well, I was going to say every time, but yeah, I guess she could.
Well, and she's also got Brainy to
Yeah,
But
he's like
here's
an
the thing.
18-year-old.
She kept
He'd
saying
do it
she
all
was
the
going to
time.
check on Brainy at the camp, but Val never saw Brainy at the camp.
Yes, she did.
She did?
Didn't she?
I don't know.
No, she
No.
didn't.
Thank you, Lara.
Sorry.
Lara
Like
says no.
I was sitting here like, did she?
I know. I'm like, I thought she did for some reason, but
No,
I guess she
I
didn't.
don't trust her at all. Like, there's something really weird there, and Lara's probably going, "You are so wrong, bitch." But like, there is something there that I mean, and maybe she's going to be morally gray. Maybe she messes up and like redeems herself, or maybe one of my big questions are who are the two demons residing in Empyrean. So we read that one is a spy for Vemdor, and the other is living amongst them as a human. So is Sable one of those demons? That's
I
what I
guess she
want to
could
know.
be. Yeah.
That's
She
possible.
could be. Yeah.
Well, one of them was revealed at the end.
Please enlighten us. We all just looked
was-
at each other.
It was Ekin.
Oh.
Because I think there's a part where Red's like, leave the demon to me, and that's who she is holding, like at knife point.
I got it.
Oh,
Okay.
that makes
Okay.
so much more sense.
Yeah, I did not read that as she was talking about him. Okay. That
See,
makes a
I
lot of
think I
sense.
just got too involved in like everything else that was going on.
Right.
Yeah.
This is not a book that we've all read 8 times like we normally do because it's too new for us to have done that. So I'm sure that's one of those things where the second time we read it, we would have been like, oh, there's one
Well,
of the
then I feel
demons.
stupid because this was the second time I read it.
Okay, let me reiterate. The second time Whitney reads it. How's that?
Yeah, that makes more
She's
sense.
the one that catches those things, not you and I.
Lara, let me ask a kind of unrelated question, but I was just sitting here thinking about it. So one of the things that I questioned a little bit with Gideon's character, which I didn't question much because I love him so much, but when Valeria comes back from the realm of the Forsaken and she's like, I broke my bond with you and was gonna go with Vemdor, like, oopsie poopsie, sorry. And Gideon was basically like, okay, I can't stay mad at you. And I was like, well, no, wait a second. Shouldn't he be more upset about this? But what you were just saying a few minutes ago, if he is supposed to basically be like all of the good aspects of somebody's personality, would that be why he was so quick to forgive her for that?
Yes.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense because I was like, why is he not mad?
Well, he basically tells her
No,
too, like she
he's
can't do
definitely
anything.
like a pushover. And it's definitely because of those, like the heart thing. And it's funny because like in book 2, the heart, I like calling it the heart issue. The heart issue comes into play a lot more because there are a lot of emotions that are heart driven, like jealousy.
Okay.
And so possessiveness, like all of the traits that drove Kieran to murder Margie's lover may crop up.
I would like to see that in Gideon,
Yeah, I
actually.
would too.
Yes.
Yeah. He could get a little bit more backbone there.
Yeah. Which is funny because I'm so like anti Vemdor. But I'm
You're
like,
like,
ooh,
ooh,
yeah.
that's
Take
sexy.
on more of his qualities, would you
Yeah.
please?
All right, thank you, Lara. I was just sitting here thinking about that and thinking that that's probably the explanation. So, what about your all's favorite quotes?
I had 2.
I did too.
I do also.
So the reason that I picked these is because they're brilliantly and strategically placed in the book at times of high tension, and they made me laugh out loud and really broke up that tension. So the first one is, Vemdor, I'm sorry I got drunk at dinner and slapped you, and I'm sorry I stabbed you and laughed at your punishment. That wasn't very nice of me. It reminds me of Mean Girls when she's like, I'm sorry about that time I told everyone you got diarrhea, and I'm sorry for repeating it now. And then my other one was I'm in love with you, fuckwit, which is what Gideon says to Valeria via the diet bond.
I love that.
Yeah, I really like that because he knows that she's not going to like wax poetic, right? And he can't be like, I'm so, and he does a little bit. I actually had another favorite quote where he does get a little bit more sentimental, but it's so them for him to be like, I'm in love with you. God, shut the fuck up. Just like,
funny as one of mine was when he said, I promised you I'd come, fuckwit. I just love how he just throws that out there. Like he doesn't really know what it means until she tells him, but then he's like, okay, this is my new favorite word.
Yeah, I love that.
It just endears me to him. But then my other one was Vemdor, because
I like Vemdor.
Because when he talks about before they kiss, this is my other favorite from him. He says, because when I kiss you, your body will beg for more. Your knees will quake, your heart will pound, and desire will consume you until you're left with an aching that only I can satisfy. No kiss from another will ever compare to mine.
Do we feel like Gideon stokes her fire?
I don't know. I mean, yes.
She does
for
lust
sure.
after him.
Yeah, she definitely does. But then what makes that even better is that the other quote that I was talking about is like he ends up on the other end of that. He's like, okay, well, nothing else will satiate me from here on out.
Right. Yeah.
That quote did give me, Vemdor gives me some Rhysand vibes.
A little bit, yeah.
Of the like, you think he's super evil, but that's not the whole story.
I know, so stop hating on him, Whitney.
But that quote reminded me of the, like, I'm not going to have sex with you here and because, this room's not big enough for me to do all the things I want to do. Like
that's a Sarah J. Maas thing, though, because she does that in Throne of Glass where he's like, I'm not going to fuck you without privacy. And then he's like, but here's a beach.
Right.
I'm just going to fuck you on this.
Nobody over here, right? Yeah, I liked the Valeria, I'm coming for you. It was my favorite moment and one of my favorite quotes. But
Who says that? What?
Gideon.
Okay.
Of course it's Gideon. I actually wrote down as my favorite quote when Valeria says, "It only took 3 blows to behead him completely."
Oh, that was my favorite moment.
I know. I just really liked that taking control of that situation. I guess is the best way to say it, of just, I'm not going to let you do this to me, and I'm not going to cower to your authority anymore. And I really appreciated that. I wrote, dang.
Damn, girl. Lara, was there anything that you wrote that really stuck with you? Like something where you're like, okay, this is it. This is like my favorite part of the book.
I really liked when Margie said, even monsters can love and be loved.
You wrote that in my book when you autographed it, actually, and I had highlighted that when I was reading.
Yeah, that's just iconic to me because I'm like, dang, girl. Okay.
Well, we all have a little bit of monster in us, right?
We do, yeah.
We all have a little bit of unlovable.
Yeah,
Not
and then
me.
I think I really liked the part where Val had just stabbed Vemdor. And he's like, I want you to feel many things for me, pet. And she's like, then get the fuck off me.
I do like that he calls her pet because it's a little possessive, but it's also like putting her in her place in his realm and also egging her on a little bit.
Yeah,
all
it's
at the
definitely
same time.
100% Vemdor. Like,
Yeah.
that definitely encompasses his personality. That he would give her that pet name.
Well, Mindy, you're the one that recommended this book for the podcast, so I would really love to know like what you liked the most about it and why you recommended it to us.
There's something about this book that I don't know if it was the time I read it, but I needed it at that time. It definitely revived my spirit of reading. I'd never read anything like this before, and I love fantasy, and I'd been reading a lot of fantasy, and for it to have the 4 different realms and that they all intertwine somehow, and that there was still a mortal realm, there's just something so like exciting about this whole world that just drew me in. And I think it's just one part of it is that I needed this book when I read it, and it's stuck with me since then.
I love that.
Yeah, I know. My answer now sounds stupid.
What is your answer, Deb?
Well, I just really enjoyed watching Valeria turn somewhat evil. It's such an interesting take, and Lara, I'm not sure what your final goal is for Val, but she's definitely not a damsel in distress, and I would love to see her like completely spiral out, kind of like Angel does on Buffy.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
That whole like "was it good for you" moment on Buffy is one of the best times in like TV history for me. And Val has such a darkness in her, and I really need to see that all come to the surface. But, you know, on top of that, this book is just extremely fast-paced. It has wonderful world building without being too world building,
Overwhelming,
right?
yeah.
Yes.
Like, there's some books I've read where I'm like, I need a notepad because I can't keep up with all of this. But even having 4 realms with different characters and time jumps, I never felt confused during this book.
Yeah. That's my answer too, actually. The pace. It has been a refreshing read for me with so many really, really, really great fantasy books that have so much world building that it takes a while to get to the action, which, again, great books, but it has been a really nice, refreshing change of pace to have things move a little bit quicker, to have the world, you know, there is world building, but there's still the mortal realm, which I'm familiar with, right?
Yeah.
I understand. And the fact that Val grows up in the mortal realm and that she is new to the fantasy realms, just like me as the reader, helps a lot with the world building and understanding what's going on. You know, I really enjoyed it a lot. Did you guys think about any fan casting for the characters?
And I can't wait to hear Lara's too, because I want to know like what her thoughts are as well. But you look super excited about yours.
Well, I was just thinking, I feel like Lara's going to be like, you are so far off, because we've established on this podcast before that I don't always picture people the way that they're actually described in the books.
That's okay, because I have one that's not like it's described, but it's how I pictured it.
See,
So.
like I go more for
the
like
same way.
the general vibe of that person. You know what I mean? So like, you know, if it's a blonde male main character, I'm probably not going to picture him. You know what I mean? Like I'll picture, you know, Pedro Pascal or whatever. I will go on.
We
and
all
say,
know that he's your zaddy. God.
Well, I was going to say I did not pick Pedro for any of these fan castings.
Can we go? Do you want to do your first character, and then we can tell you what ours are too?
Okay,
then I want to hear Lara's.
My first one was for Mason, actually.
Okay.
I picked an actor. Gonna try to say his name correctly, but I may not because he's Hispanic. But his name is Zolo Maridueña. He's an actor in Cobra Kai, and also he's the lead in the new DC comic movie Blue Beetle.
Oh yeah.
He is just, this is what I mean when I say like the vibe of the character. He is so just cute and sweet and charismatic and likable, but also not going to be competition for a Gideon or a Vendor. You know what I mean?
So it's funny that you say that, because I went with vibe too, and this actor does not have dark hair, which Mason does, right? But
Well, Zolo at least does.
right? But he really exudes that sweet apple pie small town boy charm.
Yeah.
And mine was the guy that plays Matt Donovan on The Vampire Diaries. That's who I picture as Mason. The actor is Zachary George Rurig. And Mason, like, because I think Matt Donovan could probably rock your world in bed, much like Mason does. But he's really sweet and a
Right.
little bit like, what's happening? Like, that's always how Matt Donovan was on that show. And so that's how I picture Mason.
It's so funny how different we all went with this because, but I actually kind of was looking at sort of the boy next door kind of, but not, again, like not competition.
Right.
And this person I don't find like super attractive.
Is
but
it
like
Pedro Pascal?
it is not Pedro Pascal. It's Timothy Chalamet.
Oh.
See, I find Timothy Chalamet very attractive.
See,
I don't
I
know
do
what
not.
it is about
I don't
him.
either,
I
so
don't
I'm with
like
you on that.
little skinny dudes like
I
that.
think
but
he's
I think
okay.
he's pretty.
I think he's okay. Like I don't think he's ugly, but I think he's
Timothy is listening to this right now.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Crestfallen.
So one out of the three of us like him. Lara, who is your Mason?
It would definitely be like Cole Sprouse, but as Jughead.
Oh, I can see that.
okay,
Definitely,
very
I can
much.
see that.
I
Yeah.
always think of him.
Yeah.
I wear this hat all the time. I'm just a weirdo.
Like a little emo boy with
Right.
his little sketchbook.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. When I think of actors, like I think of like actors that were young when I watched movies. So I will say that
Previous versions.
I was going to say some of my fan casts are younger versions of
actors.
Oh, mine
So-
too.
Yeah.
Mine do
Okay,
too.
okay.
So, for a really good example would be Gideon for me. Is I fan cast him as Brad Pitt via Legends of the Fall era.
Okay.
Because he's got that long blonde hair and he's, a little rough and tumble sometimes.
See, I went with, his name is Mason Dye. He was in the most recent season of Stranger Things. He was like the football quarterback captain guy that was that guy. I went with him because he wasn't a good guy in Stranger Things,
right.
but he's got that kind of like
swagger.
Like that super cut, the good guy blonde, like you see him next to Mason and you're like, oh, hello. You know what I mean?
Again, like Brad Pitt via Zachary George Roerig. I mean, come on.
What's funny is I also went to Stranger Things, but totally different.
Oh my gosh, which one?
I picked, okay, so stick with me.
Okay, so I'm looking at your notes and I almost said this too. I'm with
Jamie Campbell Bower. Not Vecna Jamie Campbell Bower, but like prettier.
Here is why I couldn't pick him, and I can't get past this. On the Shadowhunters movie,
the hair.
They used so much hairspray on his head. They made him so unattractive. When they're in fight scenes, his hair doesn't fucking move. Again, I can't get past it.
Now Timothy and Jamie are listening.
And Jamie, for the record, Jamie, I think you're super hot, but don't let them hairspray your hair.
See, I didn't go to that. I went to like the sort of not the Vecna like orderly look, but like with his longer hair with the hat. Like I don't know, he could be super sexy.
The Vecna look could be the Vemdor like monster version.
True.
That's true. All right, Lara, tell us who you fan cast as Gideon.
Okay, it's actually with Gideon. It's if two characters had a baby. Okay. Well, two actors. So if like Austin Butler,
I almost picked
and
him.
like young Hayden Christensen.
Okay.
Oh,
if they had like a baby, I think it would be Gideon.
All right. I think Gideon just got a lot hotter.
I know, right?
Hayden Christensen.
I definitely almost picked Austin Butler.
Me too, but I don't find Austin Butler very attractive, so that's why I didn't pick him.
Hayden Christensen now though, like he is a daddy. Like
we all know you like those daddies.
I've got issues. Just wait until my nerdiest thing at the end of the episode. Can we talk about Vemdor? Because I'm actually really excited. Let me tell you, I did not have a lot of great feelings about Vemdor in the book, but I did pick an actor who I think is like super hot.
Okay, I'm wondering if it's the same person.
I picked Jacob Elordi.
Who's that?
He is on Euphoria, and he plays like a 17-year-old, but he's like 27.
That's hilarious. I picked him for Malachi.
I love him.
No, that's not my Vemdor.
But he's another like big.
A lot of people
beefy
fan cast him as Rhys-Sand.
Oh yeah, I can see that too. Mm-hmm. Well, that's another podcast episode. But no, he can go very dark. Like he plays kind of a dark character on Euphoria, but he also can be very charming and
so I went the same way, dark but charming and charismatic. Mine is Tom Hiddleston via Loki.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Okay.
I think we just got Lara all excited. She's like, oh, okay. Who's your Vemdor?
I went totally different, and I couldn't decide. I thought either like a younger Keanu Reeves or even a younger Jake Gyllenhaal, but then I thought Ben Barnes.
Oh my gosh, Ben Barnes would be such a good Vemdor.
He would be a good Vemdor.
Oh, I'm mad that I didn't think of that myself because that's so much better.
Well, it's because he's the Darkling, and he'll always be the Darkling now.
Yeah. But that's that same kind of character.
It is. Like, it is, yeah. All right, Lara, sound off. Who's our Vemdor?
All right, I'm going to give you another couple making a baby. And I'm saying this because this is what I give people that are making my character art. Okay?
No, that's awesome.
Perfect, yeah.
So Ian Somerhalder with Adam Driver.
Damn.
They would have a pretty baby,
just
wouldn't
got
they?
Hotter in my head. Christ.
Yeah, like the olive skin, the dark hair, the chiseled jaw. Like, let's go.
Yep. Okay. I'm here for
Does
that.
Does Vemdor have really big hands, Lara?
Lara's like, I did not sign up for this show.
No, I definitely did. And it's so funny because I was reading a book and they kept commenting on like the big hands. And I was like, this is so funny. I need to write about his big hands.
I think you should. I mean, you'll have Whitney excited. That's for sure. Whitney, who's your Valeria?
I actually went with Lily Rose Depp, Johnny Depp's daughter.
I looked at her too.
Be a good one.
Yeah, because she is. I mean, first of all, she's gorgeous, but she is young enough to be a young character, right? But also looks and is old enough to be a love interest to some of these older male actors that I picked. You know what I mean? Because I was not going to pick an actual 18-year-old to go up with Jacob Elordi because that felt gross. Because I too am a grandma. Right? That just felt kind of, weird. I feel like she can do dark too. She could equally be really sweet and funny, but also kind of do that dark side, I guess.
It's funny because I pictured someone who really has fallen off the map, and I'm thinking of this person from 15 years ago, but Lara describes her as having a little button nose and a full mouth, and I thought Kate Bosworth.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, early 2000s.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what happened to her.
No, I don't either. She did fall
really
off the
cute
face
in
of
early
the earth,
2000s. Yeah.
I kind of went with what you were saying, Whitney, where it's somebody who's got sort of a youthful look and can play that youthful, but is also very cunning and can throw off those dark vibes. And I went for, actually, I had two, but Sabrina Carpenter was one, but
that's a good one.
But Elle Fanning is where I kind of ultimately ended
she'd
up.
be a good one.
Yeah.
Gosh, I love her on The Great.
I know,
She's
right?
so awesome
and that's
on
sort
that.
of what I was thinking of when I saw how Valeria could be sort of regal and sort of be this, but then be super conniving and have that darkness in her.
Oh yeah, but look all sweet and innocent.
Yeah.
Although I don't really picture Valeria as looking all sweet and innocent.
Oh, see, I
either.
do.
Yeah,
I think she can.
Yeah.
She can.
I think her
present
attitude,
however she needs to.
Yeah.
I think she looks sweet, but then you meet her and she's like, "Oh, okay, bitch."
Right. Lara, what celebrities had a baby for Valeria?
Okay, so for Val, it actually is just one actress that I pictured, and it's Madeline Klein.
What is she on?
Yeah, what is she in?
She's in Outer Banks, and she's
yeah.
in Glass Onion.
Yeah.
I can see
that's
that.
really great.
I can definitely see that.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think she's so beautiful, and I'm like, I have the biggest crush on her, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
Yeah, Whitney's looking.
I'd forgotten about her.
Yeah, she's super cute.
Yeah. I changed my answer to that chick. I like that a lot.
Very nice.
Lara, before we move on to Malachi, can you tell us who you picture for him? I picture someone very specific, but
I pictured Avon Jogia.
And what is he on?
Oh my gosh, he was on Victorious on Nickelodeon.
Oh, was he the
dark-haired bad boy?
Yes. Okay.
Whitney's looking at pictures.
I
for
see
us.
that. I definitely see that. He's the one that was he kind of acted like he liked Tori, but then he was actually with that other chick,
Jade. Yeah.
Yeah, but
he's pretty.
So that's not what he looks like. What I was thinking of, but yeah, he definitely. So Whitney pulled him up, and he's older now. But yeah, I definitely see
with
him.
the long hair, but no facial hair.
Oh, yeah.
He's sort of emo, but more like bad boy emo.
So
yes, more like that.
It's funny
one.
that you say that about the emo thing, and all throughout the book, he's got this smirk, right, that I really love, and so I thought of Charles Michael Davis, who plays Marcel on the originals. He's an African American actor, and if you look on his IMDb, every picture is a smirk. Yeah, every single, and he's really pretty.
The only Marcel I know was the monkey from Friends.
Yeah. Is that who you pictured for Malachi?
No, I actually didn't fan cast Malachi.
You didn't? Oh, see, I picked Jacob Elordi, who you picked for.
I picked for Vemdor.
Yeah.
Did either of you fan cast Mistress Marjorie? Because she
did.
looks very specific to
I
me
didn't
in my
even
head.
think about her.
Who's yours, Whitney?
I picture Lily Collins, who might be a little too young, but I was trying to think of a character who, kind of immortal, right? But could be a love interest for the same love interest as Val. You know what I mean? Like the age range.
You know who I picked was Famke Janssen.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Because
Wait, what is she in?
she's in X-Men. She's the Phoenix.
I don't know.
And she plays a witch in a lot of movies, which is also part of the reason I picked her. But she's beautiful and has this very unique beauty, but also can be like a complete badass.
Oh, okay, I see that.
Yeah, Lara, who's your
Marjorie?
I pictured beneath the hood was Cara D'Evangeline, but when she had I saw this picture of her on Pinterest where she had this long white hair, and I was like, shut up, what is this? And I was like,
Yeah.
that's my Margie.
Yeah. Does she look younger or older, since we don't really know what she looks like under the hood, or is that a spoiler?
She looks probably like mid-20s.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, because she sees Val sees her in the painting,
Right.
and just doesn't know that that's who it is.
Yeah, but I didn't know if she aged at all or anything
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
true.
Yeah.
she's a witch,
No,
so she can
you'll
stop
learn
it.
about that
She can
in
stop
the
the
later
age.
books.
Okay.
Just
Great.
keep reading.
So I feel like I've asked Lara a lot of questions, but do you all have any questions for her? Anything we want to ask about?
I need a clarification because I've read this again twice and I still am like confused about the timeline for the whole like Vemdor, Marjorie, Bastille thing that led to creating Gideon. So like that whole timeline of, I've read it like 5 times over and I'm just like brain dead, but like where does that all, so it starts, can you talk me through that?
Yep. So Vemdor betrays Margie. Margie is mad, big mad. And then Ward approaches Margie and he's like, hey, will you help me create this realm because I can't do it?
Wait,
I
Ward
have
or
holy
Bastille?
magic." Yeah, Bastille.
Okay.
Yeah, so Bastille's like, hey, I can't do it. I have holy magic and this takes dark magic. And she's like, I already have a realm. I'll just give you half of it since I think you're sincere. But I need you to help me. And so they do this whole exchange where she's like helping him and then he has to take Vemdor's heart. So for a while, she's keeping the heart hidden and everything. And Vemdor is obviously just getting more and more pissed off because he's like, dude, I want my heart back. I'm tired of looking like this. Like everybody thinks of me as Vemdor. My name is Kieran. Like what's going on? And and so then Iris, Val's mom, becomes pregnant and Bastille starts getting paranoid that shit is going to be hitting the fan, that Vemdor is going to be seeking revenge against him and come after his family. And he's like, also, like Val's going to be a demigoddess and the realm of the divine, they do not fuck with demigods or demigoddesses, which is explored in book 2.
Okay.
And so he's like, I need to keep her protected. And Vemdor's like, all right, look, I'll keep her protected, but you need to tell me where my heart is. And he's like, oh yeah, sure, I can get that back for you. And then he goes to Margie and Margie's like, I'm not giving it back, bro. I'm daddy. And she's like, I will help you keep your kid safe. And he's like, well, what? He comes looking for the heart. And she's like, well, we'll keep it safe this way. And so they wait until Val is born. And that's when the soul is split and they can reincarnate, or they can, I guess, incarnate Gideon. Okay. And then, so Gideon's probably like a day or 2 younger than Val. And then that's when Bastille's like, hey man, he goes to Vemdor and he's like, hey man, sorry, couldn't get your heart, but how about I betroth you to her? And that way you can have my realm too. And Vemdor's like, all right, yeah, power, that's cool. And so that's when that happens. And then it's just, yeah.
So Bastille's a little shady.
Yeah, Bastille is he's a little shifty.
He's painted a little bit like this,
benevolent god.
Yeah, he's like benevolent and everybody really loves him and they worship him, but he's a little shady.
Can you tell us if the woman that he loved in the mortal realm and died was also Valeria's mom, or was that someone else? Or can you say?
That was someone else.
Okay. Will we find out who?
Mayhaps.
Okay.
Well, the only other question I have is a rhetorical question because I'm sure it's spoilery, but my biggest question at the end of the book is what is up with Mason's dad? Because he just
Aulus Damas himself.
Oh
yes.
Yeah, he pieced out, didn't he?
Yeah. He pieced out and left his family, which seems very
kind of shitty.
Yeah. Seems kind of.
Will we see more of him?
Yeah.
Okay.
In book 2.
Okay.
And Lara,
Stay tuned.
Do you have a publication book or date for book 2?
Yeah. So the funny thing about that was I was really hoping to release it in November, and then life happened. So I haven't even finished drafting it yet, but I'm aiming for January 4th.
Okay. Perfect. Can't wait. And will you be doing books like from your website? Can we get signed copies? Because I need one of those.
I was supposed to set up an Etsy store, but I'm just lazy.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, right.
I mean, like marketing and writing and, doing the stuff like you're doing with us, it's a lot of work.
It
And then
is,
adding Etsy on top of it. And I have an Etsy shop, and Etsy buyers are just little shits. So they really are the worst. Like, they're so entitled. And so,
But also, thank you for your patronage.
I didn't say what my design company's called.
Right.
But also, if you've given me 4 stars because you didn't read the processing time, you can go ahead and fuck off. Like, I have 0 tolerance for adults that can't adult. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But if you need help with that, I can help you.
Well, let's talk about our nerdiest things of the week, shall we?
We shall.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, go for it.
So mine's super nerdy. So
Well, that's what we're here for.
as we all know, I work in a library, in an elementary school library. And so we had all kinds of weirdness starting. People that don't know, that aren't in our town, we just had some weird bus issues. So like we started one day and then we were off for a week, and then it was just crazy. But the teachers all had to go in, and there weren't any students there. So we sort of were like making up things to do. And the librarian that I work with had these stickers that were like genre stickers. So like you can stick the stickers on the spine, and it tells you whether it's a horror book or a fantasy book or
That's a great idea.
or a science fiction book or whatever. And we've had these for a little while, and I just hadn't had the time to go through. So I did, went through all our catalog, and I like printed out all this. And so basically for a week I sat there and like tagged books as a genre in the library, and it just made my little librarian soul happy. I just was
I
like,
kind of want to come see it.
I know.
it
I
was
would have been excited
super
about
fun and exciting. I'm not quite done. I still have to finish up the fantasy.
What? Fantasy's last?
Because there's so much of it.
Oh, well,
I did
saved the
the
best for last.
Yeah, I saved the best for last, and the longest list for last.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love that.
But yeah, that was my nerdiest thing that I got super excited about, genre tagging books.
I know. I would have been really excited about that too. Well, I have 2. So one is we just had a local romance bookstore open up. They just had their grand opening, and I went today. It's called A Novel Romance, and it is super, super cute. And it was just, it's very cute. It's a really cool little space, and it's really nice to have, a genre specific.
Yeah, dedicated for it. Yeah.
Dedicated. Thank you. That's the best word to say. A dedicated space for these types of books. And there were several people in there while I was in there shopping. So I'm hopeful that it's really successful. So it was really great. I
hope so, too.
And then the other nerdy thing is I also find very embarrassing. But on a whim, based on one Instagram post, I read a book called Take My Daddy, I'll Take Yours.
How was it?
I have a lot of mixed feelings about it because I really, really liked it, and I really liked the premise of the book, but it was like 100 pages and then it was done, and I didn't realize that. And so I enjoyed the book, and it was smut. It was just smutty. But again, I really liked the premise and the idea, but it was kind of like
It was over too soon.
Well, but it was also kind of like I have this idea for like the foundation, and then I'm just gonna be done writing it.
She didn't flesh
you know
it
what
out.
I mean? Yeah,
Right.
like it had the potential.
Are you sure it wasn't a novella?
I mean, it didn't say that it was, but
okay.
it is basically.
I'm going to take your
so.
word for it because I don't want to trade dads with anybody.
I mean, it is so embarrassing. I said, Robbie was like, "What are you reading?" And I was like, "I don't want to tell you."
it's Fourth Wing, I promise.
I didn't
swear.
even send you a review for it because I was like, I'm not putting this on the main Instagram account that I read.
We
this
can
book.
do anonymous.
I did. Well, I put it
Review.
on my Goodreads, but
Okay.
So anyway, that was really embarrassing that I read and enjoyed. Mostly.
So this week for me is I felt like I reached like top mom level 100 because we took the kids out to eat Mexican food the other night and we got into this whole discussion about Marvel movies and my kids were able to like lay out the timeline in the right order and tell me all kinds of shit about the movies that I did not know. And I was like, I'm so proud to be your mother.
I love that.
I'm so happy to be raising little nerds. I can't even. And Sadie's like, well, then in Ragnarok, and then when this happened and this happened, and I was like, when did that happen? And I'm like totally getting into it. And I'm like, I also don't have as much time to watch TV as you guys do.
Right. No, the Marvel world is deep.
It's too much for me.
It's deep. So, Lara, do you have a nerdiest thing of the week to share?
Yeah, I guess on Saturday, I went and I stood in line for like 35 minutes to get my husband and secretly myself Disney Lorcana playing cards for this like trading card game for us to like play cards.
I love it. Where did you get them? Where did you have to get them from?
It was like this small little game store like 10 minutes away from me. And I was like getting there. I got there 30 minutes early. So I was like, oh, it's going to be plenty of time. There's not going to be a line or anything. And there was just like all these other nerds in front of me. I'm like, wow, I should have gotten here earlier.
You should have camped out the night before.
Were people talking or was everyone introverted?
I was trying to talk to people. I was trying to talk to all the girls in line because I'm a girls girl, but they were just not about it. So I just had to like keep pretending to text people.
Their loss.
That's right. They didn't know they were talking to a renowned author. Right. Fuck those girls.
Well, Lara, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us about this book that we really, really enjoyed. We're all excited to read book 2 and 3 and 4.
And you're going to Imaginarium again next year, right?
Yep, I'll be there.
Yay. Good deal. Can't wait. We'll have to grab dinner.
Oh my gosh, I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really fun. And then we can be like, what the fuck's up with Vemdor? Or we don't have to talk about your book at all if you need a break. But, you know.
We'll see if you want to get dinner after book 2, okay?
Oh, no.
Well, I'm just saying, if you need ARC readers, I volunteer as tribute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay, definitely.
Well, that is it for today's episode. Next week, we have a great interview with author Brigid Kemmerer. And then after that, we will be discussing the book That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming.
Can't wait. All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.